Good morning, property leaders. I am former United States Army Sergeant Anthony Russell, and this morning we're going to talk about applicants that lie to you in order to get you to sign a lease. All right, property leaders, don't forget to smash that like and subscribe button. Today's question comes from Hannah. Hannah's question is, she is a new small property manager. She has a potential tenant in her 50s that does not have a rental history. The tenant filed for bankruptcy in 2018 when her husband passed, which at the time of recording this was 4 years ago. She says that the tenant had identity theft last year, so the credit is shot from about 20 accounts being opened. But they were all closed on the report. She has no other debt, and her income is $50,000, and the rent is $18.25 a month. She's willing to put down the first month's rent, the last month's rent, and a security deposit. Okay, let's start unpacking this. So maybe it would be helpful if I go over first what I require from my applicants. All my applicants get treated exactly the same. I don't care what income bracket you're in, what gender, what job, what race, it doesn't matter. Everybody gets treated exactly the same. Okay, that's important to have that in your business. Not saying that you don't do that, Hannah, but just as a general rule of thumb, general guideline, it's good to have that. So we look at a few things when we do our background checks. The first thing is no evictions in the last 3 to 5 years. If it's in the last 3 years, it's an instant no questions asked. I don't care if you are the sweetest looking grandma on the entire planet. If you had an eviction in the last 3 years, sorry, grandma, not staying here. If it's in the last 3 to 5 years, like in that range, then we'll talk about it. You know, I've been open to people in that time range before. Usually I'll want to talk to them and just get a feel for who they are. Maybe I'll want to talk to their previous landlord. Maybe I'll do more strict income verification things, things like that. Just something that gives me that warm and fuzzy feeling that they're not going to screw me. So that's the eviction stuff. Credit and credit history and collections. So I don't care about credit scores. I've mentioned that in the past. Credit doesn't mean anything to me. What I look at is collections, and I look if it is charged off or not. If somebody has active collections on there, I don't care if it's an $80 bill from AT&T or an $8,000 bill for student loans. If you have active collections, you will not rent from me because it shows me that you do not pay your bills. I know that's a bit sweeping, but it is what it is. I have to make the best decisions. Tenant screening is extraordinarily important. You have to make the best decisions that you can on people to lower your risk as much as possible. If you want to treat your tenants the best you can, then the best thing you can do for them is bring good people into your business so that you have the rent to do repairs when you need to do them. I know a lot of tenants get pissed off when they hear landlords are so strict about stuff, but by being strict with our tenants' applications, by being that gatekeeper, you will, in the long run, benefit your tenants because when their furnace goes out at 3 a.m., you're going to have the money to hire an HVAC person to go over there at 3 a.m. and do an emergency repair. If you have a bunch of tenants that are scumbags that refuse to pay you, then you will not have the money and that tenant will go cold. Okay, so that's why this is important. Okay, so we talked about bankruptcy, we talked about collections. What else? I require that all of the tenants that apply have 2.5 times the monthly rent in income. And just some back of the napkin math here, this tenant that's applying for you does not have that. Now, have I accepted tenants in the past that do not meet that requirement? Yes, but it's the ones that are on the bubble. Like if you fall within $100 of that, I'll probably look the other way. But if you're like $1,000 off, then you're not going to rent from me, because if a tenant can't afford the rent, if they don't have at least 2.5 times the rent, then there's a chance that they're not going to be able to afford the rent when things get lean. And when people have to choose between eating and paying the rent, they're going to choose eating, which they should. They should choose to eat over paying you. So I choose to not put my tenants in that position, and we require people have 2.5 times the monthly rent in their income. Let me think. I think that's everything off the top of my head. We have a checklist actually that we go over with ours. But for these purposes, I think that's good. She wants to know about the rental history and the credit being shot. So you said the credit is shot, but all the accounts are closed. I would probably let that through. I mean, this is all on you, really. You know, I wouldn't take some advice some random guy on the internet gave you as far as something like this goes. This is all going to be your judgment call. But if it were me in this position, and I saw somebody with 20 accounts that were open that were all closed, I would probably be like, okay, cool, you took care of that problem. Not having a rental history, I mean, if they owned a house up until this point, they're not going to have a rental history, but they probably have credit history, which shows them consistently paying on that mortgage or whatever. So, you know, look at that. She has no other debt. That's great. And then I think the last thing you say here, and she's willing to put the first month's rent and the last month's rent and the security deposit down. Yeah, that's all great stuff. You know, a lot of people can't afford to do that. So, Hannah, if it were me in your position, me personally, I would be skeptical of this person, but I would probably, if they were going to bring all that stuff in, I probably would rent to them, because it's mitigating your risk. Like, that's really what you're doing here. You're just trying to mitigate your risk as much as possible. And if you have the first month's rent, last month's rent, and security deposit down, you essentially have 3 months worth of rent. So yeah, that's pretty good as far as the risk mitigation goes. Definitely do your due diligence, Hannah. Do not hand over the keys until you have everything promised. Don't be one of those landlords that falls into the, I'll give you first month's rent, last month's rent, security deposit, but I have to wait until the first month or the second month that I'm renting from you. Don't be that person. I've had tenants try that crap. But all right, Hannah, good question here. If you'd like a free copy of my book, Leadership for Landlords, reach out to me and I will get that over to you. If you'd like a copy of my book, Leadership for Landlords, check it out on Amazon, available now in paperback and ebook. Please make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. All right, property leaders, get out on patrol, get into those buildings and find something to fix, huh?